Recording. Yay. Voila, kids.
It worked. I always wonder if we should start a little early now that we're live streaming, or we should still wait
We
and
should
honor.
still wait the 30 seconds.
All
It's,
right.
it's only 30 seconds.
It's only 30 seconds.
And now everybody who's with us knows 30 seconds. Oh, LOL. Okay. Do-do-do-do. Jesus is entering the chat. Here he comes. Just in time.
It's your God Call with Reverend Bill.
Here's a new workout. It won't take you to the gym. It's a spiritual workout. What we're going to do together is stretch our disbelief. There are things you believe are possible, and by extension, some things you believe are not possible. And somewhere in the middle is the line where you go from belief to disbelief. Well, spend some time in meditation and contemplation considering how that line could move. What possibilities have previously been impossible that you can now allow into the world? It's a gift that you can give, that you can have, and that you can be.
Thank you, John. Beautiful, 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 beautiful. And good morning, New Thought, Philadelphia. It is another Zooming Sunday morning celebration. You guys, you know what the rules are for doing this. Keep yourself on mute except when we're sharing or uh, making a big noise together. Let's go ahead and do that now. Go ahead and unmute your mic and repeat after me. I open myself to love.
I open
I
myself to
open
love.
myself to love.
I open myself to good.
I
I
open
open
Myself
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 to
to
good.
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 I know that love is unfolding as me right now.
I
I
know
know
that
that
Love
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 is
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 unfolding
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 as
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 me
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 right
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 now.
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 And so it is.
And
And
so
so
it
it
so it
is.
is.
So it is. There you go. Go ahead and go back on mute, and I will remind you New Thought Philadelphia is an open and loving community of spiritual adventurers, welcoming each one to experience their divine nature in an empowering space of unconditional love. So, whatever path you've been on, whatever brought you to our Zoom today, wherever you're heading next, we've been expecting you, and welcome home. Around here, we believe there's one power, love, intelligence, or force that creates everything, including each of us, and that we're each using that same power, love, intelligence, or force to create our lives according to our beliefs. The way that we like to say it is your new life begins with a new thought. If you have extra electronic devices, good for you. You can go ahead and turn them on shush for the next hour or so that we don't get distracted. I will tell you that there's going to be a little bit of an interactive process when we get to the talk. So you'll want to have a piece of paper and a writing implement available. You have probably half an hour before you need to have that ready. I'm Bill Marchiony, the spiritual director at New Thought Philadelphia. Our music today is Sonic Yogi, John Adams, who is in Atlanta and inspiring every time we have him here. And our practitioners today are Carolyn Nixon, RSCP, and Joe Catanzaro, RSCP. And Joe is going to open us, as we open everything, with a practical prayer.
Good morning. Good to be here. Let's take a breath and settle in and know that there is that one power and presence. It's felt. We may not see it, but it is felt. Its power, its energetic force flows through everything. No less than Nikola Tesla said that there's that power out there and he can't see it, but he knows it's there. He knows we're all connected. We are all connected. That channel runs through each one of us. It is love, unconditional love. It is the source of all good. What is that good? Harmony, love, joy, peace, divine order, knowing, wisdom. It's all there for us to take, to accept, to open to. And I know that as we gather here today, we do so that we can open to all of that, to be that channel. Let all that good flow into us, among us, through us, and out into the world. So for all the things we share to make that happen, the music, the words, the connections, I'm grateful. I'm grateful for each one here. And I claim all of that good for all of us. And I release my word to the law that always says yes. And so it is.
Thank you, Joe. That is awesome. And the reason that we do a prayer is because it changes something. It actually creates a new creative energy in the world and brings something new about. So if anybody has a prayer that you've been doing or you've been having some assistance with that has shown up in a wonderful way in your life, go ahead and wave your hand. We get to either share or brag, depending on how you approach that. All right, one at a time, please.
I have a small one.
Okay. There's no big or small in the universe, but go
That's
ahead.
true. That's true. We're starting our bowling league today, and we didn't have enough people from our last league that would want to play this time. But I grabbed the few people that wanted to play, and we cast the net, and I was like, it's only one, like it's all one, like we're gonna have to get one whole team one way or another. And so today we get to start. we don't need approval required anymore because we had enough people say like, yeah, okay, we'll join the bowling with the homies team and we'll go bowl for fun. So right after this, prayer does work. I'm going to go and meet our new randoms and meet some new friends and bowl with the homies. It's going to be fun.
Knock down some perfectly innocent pins. Good for you. Michelle.
So I've been wanting a job, and there was some issues with getting the one job that I wanted, but then everything seemed to work out. I just had to um basically fight for it. But I mean, like, I it's one of those things. It's like, you know, we'll see. I mean, I have some reservations about it now, but we'll see how it goes. I'm gonna try to stay positive and
There you go. Do you mind if I tell a little bit of the backstory here? Because we've been hip deep in this one.
okay, sure, yeah.
All right. So Michelle was offered a job at working at a medical office up in Rochester, where she is based, and she showed up for the basically for her first day of training and or orientation and so forth, and the people there said, "Well, we don't have any record of you, so go home." And suddenly it seemed like there wasn't a job. Like, what's going on? And she brought that, she's the regular participant in the daily meditations. And so she brought that to us, and we went into practitioner mode and said, well, okay, we're going to look a fact in the face and know something better. So the guidance that came from that is something got screwed up. She got an offer for the job. Go ahead and talk to the people as far up the chain as you can in HR. And she wound up befriending the vice president of HR, who wound up being tremendously apologetic because they had gotten her name wrong on the drug test and the clearance and all the rest of it. And when they realized who she was, oh, okay, let's roll out the red carpet. And she starts tomorrow. I
Yep.
love stories like that. I love stories like that. And I have a little prayer work story. We're starting the class on living untethered this week, and as always happens, people are signing up at the last minute, and there are enough people who are going to be taking the class now. I'm really excited about having it and being able to dive into this work. And as I am rereading the materials and preparing, I'm getting even more excited about it. So this is an opportunity for love to show up in the world. We're going to mention that a little bit more in the announcements, which Jane is going to do. So if you have a kazoo ready, go ahead and.
Good morning. Let me see. Let me get over here. This wintry mix of information is on our website at newthoughtphilly.org and in our weekly e-newsletter. Please sign up on the website so we can keep in touch. Our winter class is Living Untethered on Tuesday evenings beginning this week. We'll explore ways to move beyond the thoughts, feelings, and habits that keep us stuck so we can stop struggling and start experiencing a life of liberation, serenity, openness, and self-knowledge. It will be hybrid at Exhale in Narberth and on Zoom. Register today. We are all practitioners, whether we do healing work for others or just for ourselves. Consider taking your practice to the next level when personal practitioner class begins in the fall. Contact Reverend Bill to see what you need to do to be ready. We host 15-minute meditations on Zoom twice every day. If you haven't taken part lately, Zoom in this week. They're inspiring, fun, and quick. Monday, Wednesday, and Friday mornings this week will also be on Insight Timer Live. Ooh. Episode 136 of Reverend Bill's Practical Prayer Podcast is Surrender and Release. Listen where you get your podcasts and get a peek behind the scenes in the live recording session on Monday at 1 p.m. on New Thought Media Network. Follow, subscribe, like, and share our social media on Instagram, Facebook, Insight Timer, and YouTube, and join the 1,703 spiritual adventurers in our group on meetup.com. The Power of 8 Intention Circle meets on Zoom every Monday at 6:30 p.m., All are invited to join us tomorrow for this powerful group spiritual practice. Reverend Bill is offering spiritual counseling and practical prayer packages to help you step into the life of your dreams, or well visits to keep everything moving smoothly. We are grateful for your tax-deductible donations by Zelle, Cash App, check, PayPal, Venmo, credit card, or debit card. Giving statements for 2023 will be going out this week. Next Sunday is Online with Jesus, the Groundhog, and the Light. Joe Catanzaro celebrates a cross-quarter day and links traditions from 3 candles on our flames of faith to the ancient Greeks, Roman, Hebrews, Celts, Germans, and modern-day residents of Gobbler's Knob, Pennsylvania. Live original music by Jeff Lesser. The practitioners are available for professional sessions by appointment. After the celebration, Joe is available for a quick miracle in a minute prayer. We'll leave the Zoom meeting open after the celebration for casual conversation.
Thank you, Jane. Thank you, thank you, thank you. And yeah, so we have a special blessing for our first-time visitors. Am I seeing anybody who's here for the first time? I am not. So we are going to all bless ourselves and bless each other. So get your hands together, rub them, feel some warmth, bring up the love, debate, and share that with the people we are in community with. We are the bright lights of God's love. I am so grateful for the wonderful way that our lights are shining and our love is flowing and that goodness is here, and welcome home. As John does the next piece, let's go ahead and switch into gallery view, or the view where you can scroll through on your device so that you can make eye contact with the people we're in community with and feel that connection. Thank you, John. And Christine Joy is now going to lead us in the flames of faith.
We perform this ceremony to acknowledge that all people and all faiths come from one power, love, intelligence, which we call spirit or God. We honor the richness that comes from our shared diversity and bless the interwoven energy of the divine feminine and masculine. We light the first candle for the Tao, honoring the universal path of harmony and equilibrium, the natural way. We light the second candle for the earth-based traditions, honoring the belief and practices of all the indigenous people, the way of primal spirituality. We light the third candle for Hinduism, honoring the path of knowledge, action, and devotion. We light the fourth candle for Judaism, honoring the ethical path of living by sacred law. We light the fifth candle for all forms of Buddhism, honoring the Four Noble Truths and the path of compassion. We light the sixth candle for all forms of Christianity, honoring the Christ consciousness as the path of love. We light the seventh candle for all forms of Islam, honoring the path of submission to the will of God as the highest calling. We light the eighth candle for the universalistic religion of Baha'i, honoring the path of unity and peace. We light the ninth candle for all forms of New Thought, honoring the metaphysical path of mental healing through the practice of universal spiritual principles. As we light the healing candle, please put silently into the light names of anyone or any place you wish to have experienced the healing flame of God's eternal love.
Blessed be. The reading today is from A Daily Dose of Sanity by Alan Cohen, and it's going to be shared with us by Sandy.
Good morning. This reading is called Your True Colors, and it starts with a quote. A friend is someone who sees through you and still enjoys the view. That quote's by Wilma Askinas. When I studied with my mentor, Hilda Charlton, I did a great deal of introspection. One day, my self-analysis led me to confront all the ways in which I was living inauthentically. I felt overcome by a sense of hypocrisy, and I decided to make a public confession. At Hilda's next class meeting, I took the microphone and stood before a group of about 300 students. I announced, I am a phony. I do many selfish things out of accord with my true values, and I harbor negative thoughts and judgments I do not admit. I have pain in my relationships. I try to look better than I think I am, and I lie about certain things. I listed some more of my shortcomings, gave the microphone back to Hilda, and sat down. Hilda followed up my confession with this comment. Yes, Alan is a phony, but not in the way he thinks he is. He thinks he's his problems and human frailties, while he's really a perfect and beloved child of God. Well, that took the wind out of my guilt sails. That night became a turning point in my life. That night, I began to identify with my deeper spiritual self rather than my problematic surface self. The popular song True Colors teaches the same lesson. Most of the time when we say, she showed her true colors, we infer that this person's nasty or evil real self came forth. Nothing could be further from the truth. The ego or dark side of us is simply a complex of behaviors at a very shallow level of our being. Below and behind your errors lives a brilliant, radiant being, your soul. So the next time you refer to someone's true colors, Remember that their truest colors are golden and white light, the divine essence at the very core of their being, just like yours. And the quote is, I accept my true identity as a whole divine being. I celebrate who I am.
Oh, thank you, Sonic Yogi. That is awesome. Oh, so wonderful to have you with us. Hmm. A reminder that sometime a little later in this talk, you're going to want to have a paper and a pen available. It can be a journal or it can just be the back of an envelope. Just want to be able to play along when we get to the exercise part. The talk today is Who Am I? And taking it all the way back, there's this notion of cogito ergo sum. I think, therefore I am, from René Descartes. And of course, he didn't get that completely right. I think, therefore I am puts a whole lot of importance on the thinking part. And he actually started it by saying, I doubt, therefore I am. And then, oh yeah, well, just because I think, therefore I am. And the interesting thing is that that awareness, I am, therefore I am. That's the claim of consciousness. And that's kind of where we're all starting with this. I heard a joke that Rene Descartes was once offered a glass of brandy after dinner. Would he like a glass of brandy? He said, I think not, and then vanished. So this talk is in a lot of ways based on Living Untethered, the book and the class that we're starting this week. And it goes into a lot of the identity of who we are. So I will ask you, what's your name? And you will have an answer that's readily available. And the question that comes up is who's answering? When you're asked, what's your name? And you answer with your name, who is doing the answering? Because there are a lot of ways that we can think of ourselves and in relation to the world. There was an episode of Hidden Brain that I listened to on where the feelings come from. And the scientists basically came up with the story that our brains are inside of our skulls, locked in the dark and never getting out. And everything that's going on in our brains is signals and input that's coming in. So our brain is being stimulated by the light that comes in and touches our eyes, and by the nerves that we have when we're touching something, and by our sense of smell, and by our proprioception as our body moves through the world. But that the brain itself is isolated and it's just sitting in there alone. Which brings up a whole lot of really interesting concepts that I'm not necessarily going to go into. Because yes, physiologically, we could say this is the brain and this is how it's all wired together. This is how the nervous system works, and and an understanding of some of the sensors. And we think of our brain as the part of our body that does the thinking. That's where all the cross connections happen. We think of that as being the central processing unit. And then we have the term mind. So we all have a mind, and the mind is what we're thinking with. And there's usually a notion that our mind is in our brain, but it might not be. Our mind could be something that goes beyond our brain, and in fact, goes beyond our physical body. And then there's the question of soul, and the question of, do you have a soul? And that's kind of what Descartes was getting to. I think, therefore I am. I am because because of that soul essence. But the fact of the matter is, we don't have a soul. We do not have a soul. We are a soul. We are a soul with a mind and a brain and a body, and we are engaging with the world. And the mind, the soul, the I am that's in there is something that doesn't change. So we can describe ourselves in whatever manner we want to, and we're going to do that in a couple of minutes. But inside of there, it's you. You're in there. So who is that? Who is that you who's in there? That's the question. Who am I? Is the you in there the same you who was there when you were a kid? You looked out at the world and you saw in the mirror a 7-year-old. And that 7-year-old body has certainly changed, and the experiences and the locale and the education and all sorts of things have changed since then. But are you still the same you that was in there before? Every time you engage with the world, is that the same you? And then when other things are changing, how is that true you inside changing and engaging with it? We go to sleep, and sometimes we have a dream. And we wake up from the dream and we remember what happened to us in our dream. And we use the same terminology to describe what happens in our dreams that we use to describe what happens in life. I was holding my arms out and flying. I was running away from a tiger. And it's the same I am, I was. But those things didn't actually happen. Those things came from someplace else. But it's the same I am that's inside of it. So who is that I am? When somebody asks, who are you? What's the answer? Is it about your gender, your race, your ethnicity? Those are certainly wonderful ways that we can describe who we are. And they're important. A lot of times they're important. Um, I've sometimes made mention that if we get completely unattached to our ego and the sense of who we are, nobody would ever be able to take attendance because they'd call Bill Marchiony and I wouldn't be attached to answering yes. So there are some helpful things about that claim of identity of who we are. It might be your residence, where you live now, or your hometown, where you came from, or your alma mater, the school that you attended that makes so much meaning for you. When you're asked about who you are, it could be about your job, or your career, or your profession. And that's all applicable, and it's very interesting to know what people are doing in their job and their career and their profession. But since you first got your first job, are you doing anything different? Has that changed over time? And has that changed who you are? We can describe ourselves by the experiences that we've had, or the skills that we've got, the talents and abilities we have, the degrees and the education that we have. And is that a way of defining who you are? It's part of the story, and it can be helpful in understanding that, understanding who we are. Is it about your wealth, the stuff you've got, the family that you have, your kids and your aunts and uncles and brothers and sisters, parents, and so forth? Is it about your position in society, or is it about your popularity or your fame? Those are all really important. Those are all very important. So I'm going to do a little exercise with you now, and we don't do this during the Sunday morning talk very often. I will encourage you to go ahead and play along, even if you think that this is not going to be entertaining or you don't want to. And it's simply because if you're not actually participating, it's going to be really boring. Okay? So I'm going to ask you a question, and I want you to answer with the first thing that comes to mind, and then write it down. And then I'm going to ask you another question. Actually, it's going to be the same question. And you need to come up with a different answer. And again, write it down. And if you're by yourself, you can say them out loud. Don't unmute. We don't need to hear your answers quite yet. You will have an opportunity to share these later, but you don't have to. Breen and Jane are sitting next to each other. If you want to do this out loud, then you can or not. But, work it out. You're grown-ups. So here we go. Tell me who you are. Thank you. Thank you. Tell me who you are. Thank you. Tell me who you are. Thank you. Tell me who you are. Thank you. Thank you. Tell me who you are. 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 Thank you. And we can keep going. And as we keep going, what you find is that the answers, they're different. Once you rule out a couple of things, are the first ones more superficial? Are the first answers easier? Or is it tough to come up with the later answers? What's that story that you're telling about your story yourself? How much of that is your story and how much of that is your authentic self and how much of that is aspirational? And it's okay, we're not being judgmental about that. The question when we're asking, who am I, is who am I without my story? All of those things that have happened to me throughout my life, which have been reinforcements, part of my learning and growth and expansion and development, or part of my trauma. All of those things that have made me the me who I am right now, have made each of us the I am who we are right now. Who are we without those? What happens if the trauma that so affected your life when you were 2 or 4 or 10 or 21, what happens if those lose their energy? They're not things that are going to go away, but they're things that are going to stop repeating in your life. Who are you without that? Are you okay without that? We see things happen in the world and we start with an observation and then we have a thought about whatever it was that we were observing. And sometimes that gives us an emotion. And those are all linked together. And sometimes they happen instantaneously. And when we have the emotion, we have an evaluation of the experience that we've had, and that's judgment. And that's perfectly reasonable, but not necessary. We're asking, who am I? Who am I without the judgment? If something happens and I have that reaction to it and I judge it, that's one way. And the other thing that's possible is the same thing can happen and I can observe it and not judge it. It's just a thing that happened. What happens if I don't have to catch it and I don't have to take the energy of it on myself and I let it be without letting it live in me? Can we do that? Yeah, we can do that. Can we live free of judgment? We can. It's not something that's going to happen on Tuesday night, but maybe it'll start in the class on Tuesday night. Can we deal with the trauma, the stuff that's happened to us in our past? Yeah, we can. Because what happens is when something happens to us, we have this entire process of bringing it into our mental and emotional awareness and storing it in our brain or processing it. And when something happens that we can't process immediately, instead of dealing with it at the time, we store it. We store it in our body, we store it in our brain. That stuff gets held onto, and it stays there until we process it. And unfortunately, when something happens that makes us upset or angry or fearful, otherwise uncomfortable, we take that and we store it someplace in our body. And it can affect our health and our emotional balance and so forth. But the important thing is, in order to process it, we have to bring that experience back up. And with it comes the feeling that we had when we stored it. So a lot of times we spend enormous amounts of energy trying not to experience that discomfort that we felt in the first place. And that's an interesting strategy, but we also have the opportunity to not move through whatever that experience was. We don't process it, and it continues to be operative. We continue to react to stuff that happened when we were 2 or 4 or 7 or 21 or last week. And we don't have to. We can clear it. We can understand it. We can work through it. We can release the energy of it and then be free of it. If we want to. If we want to. In the Hidden Brain episode, there's a great explanation of the way that we're engaging with the world and other people. Somebody says something, somebody has an opinion of you, and we can take that in and have it give us that charge and have to store it someplace in our body and then process it or deal with it later. And the observation that they came up with in the uh, in the episode was this wonderful quote: "Other people's opinions of you are simply electrical activity in their brain." People's opinions of you are simply electrical activity in their brain. And when you think about it that way, it's like, does that have to affect me? Clearly, it doesn't have to affect me. Can it affect me? Absolutely, it can affect me. And we get to choose. We can continue to go on doing what we've been doing and living with our past trauma and our past stories and the judgments that we're having about that. Or we can set about methodically choosing to be who we want to be, to have the experience that we want to be, to come into alignment, to allow the traumas of the past to not be in control anymore and open up to something new and fabulous. We can all do that. We can all do that at any moment. Transformation is at hand. It's an infinitely abundant universe, divinely creative. Everything is possible. So open up to this possibility and see what steps are yours to take, see what things are yours to release, and invite in something new and spectacular, because you most certainly deserve it. So it is.
Let us begin. Settle in for meditation. Take a cleansing breath. Settle in. Prepare to meditate. And take a moment to give thanks for what has already blessed us. And what comes to mind for me in thinking about who am I is I'm reminded of the first series of yoga classes that I took, which began and ended with the following statement. I am not the physical body. I am a spiritual being. I am not the emotional body. I am a spiritual being. I am not the mental body. I am a spiritual being. And as my metaphysical education expanded and evolved, I came to learn that my body, my emotions, and my mind are the servants of my soul. It is by means of my body, my emotions, and my mind that this one which dwells within reveals itself to me. And reveals, as was stated in our readings, my two colors. Yes, I have a body. I am also a spiritual being. I have emotions, and I am also a spiritual being. I have a mind, I have an intellect, and I am also a spiritual being. And my invitation to you for this meditation is to move beyond whatever attachments, however we identify as we're dealing in the realm of the finite, to move away from the what and move into the realization of who we are in the infinite. So let us begin. Close your eyes if you wish. Place your hands on your thighs, palms upward. Take a deep breath, draw in that radiant light, however you visualize it, however you experience it. Allow it to move through your being and to flow out and to connect with all of the light which surrounds you. And as you release that breath, thank your body for serving you so well. And give it permission to be at rest. And draw in another deep breath of that light. And again, allow it to flow through you and to move out and connect with all of that light. And as you release that breath, thank your emotions for serving you so well, for allowing you to experience the richness, the fullness, the ups and the downs of life. And give your emotions permission to be calm. And taking yet another breath of that light, and again, let it flow through you and move out and fully connect with all the light there is. And right now, I invite you to allow your breathing to resume in a way which serves your well-being. And as this is unfolding, I invite you to open your mind's eye and visualize that interface where the divine within merges with the divine which is everywhere present, which the finite merges with the infinite, whereas in our reading stated, our true colors reside, our true nature. as expressions of this one mind. We are infinite, immortal, and eternal. Within us is that inner knower, that inner observer. Because we are an expression of the divine, we cannot be harmed. What dwells within is unchanging and is ever present. And I invite you to fully embrace this awareness. And if perchance any thoughts cross your mind, any doubts, which distracts you from this awareness, from this truth, let them pass, free of attachment, and ask that inner knower, that inner observer, who you are. And immediately you return to that awareness. And should you need to repeat that procedure, do so. And I now invite you to join me in the quiet for contemplation.
We are stardust. We are golden. We are billion-year-old carbon. And we're on our way back to the garden. We can follow this path that we create here today. Use that power, use that energy, because it's all energy. We're energy. We can use that to get back to that garden. We take that journey together. Particle by particle, energy wave by energy wave. Back to that one. More light than different. Golden light and white light. And the first step is the acceptance, the knowing, the willingness. The willingness to see that path. So for all of this, the willingness, the openness, the acceptance, the knowledge that we are that light and that we are that stardust and that energy. I'm grateful wherever we are along this pathway, twisting, turning, upward spiral, maybe a few downward spirals, but back up, back up. For everything that we've created here today that assists us on that journey, on that upward spiral, I am grateful for each one here, for all the music, all the words, the feelings, the connection. So take a deep breath, move around a little bit, shrug your shoulders. Bring yourself back to the room. Open your eyes when you're ready, and we'll have Sonic Yogi play us another beautiful song.
Beautiful, John. Thank you so much. And it's so wonderful to hear the music, and it's so peaceful and uplifting, and then watch you doing all the stuff that you're doing to make it happen. Thank you for sharing the gift that you have with that. I'll take a couple of minutes to do a wisdom share. So I asked you a question a little earlier about tell me who you are. And I don't need to hear the whole list of the answers that you got. What I really love to hear, and you can do that if you want to, what I really love to hear is what was the progression that went through as you answered that question on a different level. So what happened for you? If you got the ability to share, go ahead and wave your hand. Carolyn, I think, and then Sandy. Carolyn, not
At
Sandy.
first, it was kind of non-specific, and it got more specific as they went along, and it got to the point where it was like, say, I said, "Stop asking me that question." To be continued.
Thank you, Carolyn. Joe.
So mine was similar, but I noticed that it was body and physical reality, and then it was mind or thought processes, and then it got more I don't know, metaphysical, maybe energy, particle, a force. And I got to the point where I wanted to say stop asking, but I changed it. I changed it to why do you ask? So
Okay.
but it was interesting.
Yeah. This is an interesting experiential. We've done this in teen workshops. And we do is we break up into dyads, pairs, and one person will ask the other, tell me who you are, and they'll answer out loud to the other person. And there's all the thoughts of this the other person who's listening to me is going to be evaluating what I'm saying and judging me and all the rest of it. And then the same question comes along, and there's no feedback. And then you switch sides, and the person the other person asks and answers. And it's not to tell your story about who you are. It's about to go through the process and get into those deeper pieces and places of who you are. So thank you all for playing along. Jane, you're up.
Okay. New Thought Philadelphia is all about spreading the love. Our community is supported by your contributions. The gift you share helps fund our work in the world, and the way you shine your light spreads the love. We are grateful for every way you share. We don't have a basket today, but there's a donate button on the website to make a donation by credit card, PayPal, Venmo, Cash App, Square, or Zelle. You can also mail a check to our office in Ardmore. The offering affirmation is on the screen. We'll say the affirmation together. I live in an
abundant
universe.
I am one
with the
source of
infinite source
good.
of good.
I am a
And
center of
center of
peace and
peace
prosperity.
and prosperity.
I enjoy the
Enjoy
richness
the
of
richness
life.
of life.
I bless
I
my
bless
gift.
my gift.
I share my
Share
gift
my
with
gift with
gratitude.
Joy.
I know that as I
As
give,
I give, I do
I do
receive.
receive.
So it is.
So it is.
So it is. Thank you, thank you, thank you. John, one more for us? Beautiful as always. Thank you, thank you, thank you so much, John. Wonderful to have you here with us. Let us close with a cacophony. Deeply grateful cacophony. Go ahead and unmute your microphone and repeat after me. I am light.
I am
I am
light.
light.
That's who I am.
That's who I
I
am.
am.
I am love.
I am
Love.
love.
That's who I am.
That's who I am.
I am.
And I let it be.
Let
Let
it
it
be.
be.
And so it is.
So it
So it is.
So it
is.
is.
So it is. So it is. Thank you. Ah. Ah.
Yay.
Mhm.
Bye, y'all. Off to bowling. Love
Gotta
to
go bowl.
you.
Bye, Sarah.
Bye, guys.
Jonathan, thank you so much. That was celestial.
That's beautiful.
Amazing.
Yeah. Wonderful. Everybody staying dry on the
Yep.
soggy?
So far. Gotta take the dogs out in a little bit. That's gonna be wet.
It is snowing here.
Oh,
Mm.
Little lake effect, pretend snow.
Is it that horizontal snow?
Yeah.
That's
bye,
all.
everyone.
Bye, Dina.
Have a great day, everyone.
Bye,
Have a great
Hannah.
week,
Bye,
everyone.
Wonderful to
Chris.
see you.
Bye. See you later.
Ah. Lynn, Joe, I'll see you guys on Tuesday.
Yep.
Anybody
Should we
else?
start to read anything in that book? Just start from the beginning?
Nope.
No? Okay.
Nope. I mean, you can read any of it that you want, but you
Okay.
get an assignment to read it again.
Okay.
All
You
right,
have a-
kids.
See you, everyone.
We'll
Take
see
care.
you.
Have a wonderful afternoon.
You too.